Every day in America, tens of thousands of prostitutes are on the job. From the penthouse in New York to the truck stop near Philadelphia, from the lobby of the hotels to the bleakest end of the darkest road. Women who say they too are your daughters, your sisters, your mothers. Tonight, some of their stories.
You're just so ashamed of yourself.
I don't think anything at this point is sacred anymore.
It's like a tattoo. It'll never go away. You might get it lasered off, but there's always going to be traces of it there.
These are individual lives that we're talking about. These are real women and girls who are impacted and affected by this.
Hello?
Rachel Lloyd. Her organization provides services to girls and women from the domestic sex trafficking trade. How many prostitutes are out there? The estimate is 100,000. But she says it's impossible to count them all, though everyone knows the number is staggering.
You could go to Craigslist, which has now become one of the major destinations for men looking to buy sex. You could open your Yellow Pages and see just pages and pages of ads for escort agencies and massage parlors.
And do you think America is in denial about the amount of it?
I think we're in denial, and I think one reason for that denial is that overwhelmingly the victims are poor. They're young and troubled.
Nick Kristof of the New York Times, who's written powerfully about prostitutes and sex trafficking, and says if we really think these women simply choose these lives, we haven't looked at who they really are. You've quoted a figure that at least one study, 2/3 may have been sexually abused as children.
2/3, and that's a conservative estimate. Some of the estimates are, some of the studies are actually substantially higher, 90%. But it's at least 2/3 come out of that kind of abusive setting, and very often these are addictions. You have a tremendous proportion of women who are selling sex, are abusing drugs, and are financing that addiction through selling sex.
To the people watching who say that to decide to sell your body for sex is inherently a choice deserving of contempt or scorn.
I'd like the viewer to conceive of themselves as a 13-year-old girl who's been abused by her stepdad, say. Her mother doesn't want to hear about it. I don't think that one can describe that as a reasoned choice in any way.
We want to believe that there's kind of bad girls and then there's good girls, right? And so we make those distinctions about who's, really a victim and who's not. I think we've bought into, again, the belief that men have needs and that this is the oldest profession. I mean, child abuse has been around since the beginning of time, right? But we don't kind of make that justification just because it's been around a long time.
And she says if you still think it's just another choice, are they also choosing to die? One study of prostitutes who died reported the average age was 34.
The commercial sex industry is incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's inherently violent. I mean, you just can't ultimately separate out violence. I mean, even studies of, again, high-end sex industry, whether we're talking about escorting in a strip club, wherever.
Tonight, we look for answers. Why do the women do it? Why do they stay? As we take you out into the streets and into the legal brothels. You'll also hear the secrets of a woman who works at the very highest end of the trade and the horrifying truth of the end of the road. When America looks at prostitution, it is in fill in the blank.
I think we have this sort of happy hooker or pretty girl model that we think of, and that's because the women who sell sex, it works if you're selling to look happy, not to be crying.
So we believe that there should be a group of people who should go through this.
Good evening, I'm Diane Sawyer. 2 years ago, we began traveling the country to take a look at the real dimensions of prostitution in America, the enormity of the numbers, the human beings involved. And when the news broke about Governor Spitzer of New York, it just seemed to heighten all our questions. Like, what are the differences between women in the high end of the business and the low? And how do women from all parts of America come to the trade, and why? We know, of course, there are male prostitutes, too, but tonight we're going to concentrate on the women and a warning. Some of the material is graphic, but it is the reality of what they do. And since it's Good Friday, it might be a time to ponder all our preconceptions about responsibility and blame and choice, and how you help those who dream of a way out.
Hi, baby. What's up? Sorry, darling. Hi.
You could find her most days and nights on the streets in Reno. Jessie, age 22, who had her first experience as a prostitute at the age of 19.
Most girls down here make an average of $20. $20 for half and half, which is both oral and physical sex. You can't be soft, you can't be nice, you can't be sweet. You go and you look at everybody like they're out to you over, because they are.
So what is Jessie's story? She says she grew up on an organic farm in California and wanted to be a firefighter. All she'll add about her home life is it was unstable, and she left. She says her happiest time was joining the Navy at 17, but she says she was diagnosed with epilepsy and discharged, losing the structure and purpose she loved.
I was there 2 years, but oh well. Maybe God had a different plan. Sorry. I never planned on this.
She says she was homeless and had started doing drugs. It was a drug dealer, she says, who suggested the truck stop as a place to get money to pay him. Jessie shows us the talisman she says protected her on the terrifying streets.
We used to call it the Valley of the Shadow of Death, because that's what it is. Everybody down there was really dead inside. You know, it's like they weren't living, they were. But, you know, they were just all children of the night.
And again, the violence is everywhere. Every street prostitute we talked to had been attacked at least once with a deadly weapon or raped. The murders rarely make the headlines.
I mean, if he'd killed 50 secretaries or 50 television producers, you know, there would have been a very different public outcry. And so women in the sex industry, women and girls in the sex industry, are seen as disposable beings. And we believe that on some level it's all right for violence to happen. Like, well, that's your choice.
Jessie had dreamed of getting off the streets into safety. She's here on the internet, which has become a giant red light district. There are even do-it-yourself startup books for your own escort service, books you can buy right on Amazon. Jessie, a wobbly entrepreneur, is studying how to become a classier working girl.
And the nice thing about this site is the women in the pictures are all wearing suits, and so when you first get to it, you can't really tell what kind of site it is.
This escort site charges Jessie $100 to $300 to post her ad. There are private chat rooms where the kind of sex can be determined in a conversation. Jessie checks her online reviews posted by previous clients.
And, you know, face 9.5, body 8.5, which is fine. Attitude 10. Oh, that's nice. I think I have size C boobs. That's awesome.
Personality evaluations, too.
Clock watch. What that means is, did she take her time? Is she rushed? Is she watching the clock? That kind of thing. And so pretty much what it says is that she took her time, which is a very good review, because I do. I never rush anybody. And then these are services, FS, BB. Okay, well, FS is full sex. Log in.
A bad review can ruin your income. Jessie even tries to dress for more success.
Most of my clientele that I've met are married, and, you know, don't want a little girl in a little red mini dress and sky-high heels to walk up to them in a bar if that's where they're meeting. They want the woman that's wearing the business suit and looks like maybe she works for his company, and it's a business meeting.
She's seeing about 3 to 4 men a day. Like the legitimate professional women, she tries to keep track of her schedule by cell phone and hopes for a big raise.
Yeah, give me a call back about 5:30 because I like to reaffirm before I see clientele.
The street prices were a fraction of the $500 an hour she'd like for straight sex, but she's not a very strong negotiator.
Good job.
Many escort services will take at least half what a girl makes.
women often move from one area of the industry to another. So, you know, for a year they might be working on the streets, and then they might work in a strip club and then an escort agency or then a brothel.
Moving back and forth in the shadows. As we said, statistics about who the women are hard to find, but we're told that most of them are from broken homes. They're heavily Black and Latino, but there's a bulletin for parents in every neighborhood. So many of the girls bought into the pretty woman idea, that the sex world was glamorous. They never intended to go all the way.
It was like this teeny outfit, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna be stripping, or, you know, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Danielle Douglas was a college student from a well-off town when a guy she was dating said he could help her make extra money.
And I just figured, well, yeah, I'm a starving student. I need extra cash. Why not?
Why? You could have gotten some other job. Maybe the money wouldn't have been as fast, but made the money and kept yourself. Why?
It's really a good question, and I don't have the exact words to answer it other than I was so impressionable and my self-esteem was so low that I was willing to risk my body and my mind. I was raped at the age of 12 from a boyfriend.
But you had emotional problems?
Oh, yes.
Where were you in your head when you were doing that?
I was numb, completely numb.
More on Danielle's life with her pimp later. Back in Reno, Jessie is struggling to hold on to herself and her drug addiction, which is growing.
Women and girls end up using substances to kind of cope. I mean, obviously part of this is the numbing factor, that you have to begin to numb yourself to the abuse, to the exploitation, to the degradation.
She now decides that maybe the answer is to become one of the thousands of applicants to join a brothel. There are approximately 30 legal brothels in the nation, all in Nevada.
Pretty soon you're gonna have to be on that. I love you too. Gotta go.
First stop, the state of Nevada requires a medical and criminal background check. In the car with Jessie, another applicant, Jenna Lee. We can't show you her face, but she's very pretty and sunny, like a cheerleader turned single mom. She tells us she's never done this before, but like so many women, TV and the movies make it seem an adventure.
I'm going in like happy, like stripper dancer kind of, like, you know, really upbeat, like outgoing, like fun girl that like just like, you know, like a really fun, like I'm not crying about it. I'm not upset. You know what I mean? Like I'm stable.
You'll do well.
I'm just, yeah.
To be honest, it's not much different than going home drunk from your college, you know, frat party with,
and just ending up with some guy, yeah.
Except
you get paid.
They stop at the sheriff's office to certify they've had no misdemeanors in the last year, no felonies in the past 5 years.
We're gorgeous, we know.
Then they head off to a local doctor. For Jenna, the exam is uneventful.
And are you brand new to the Nevada brothels?
I've never worked.
Never worked? Anywhere?
Ever, no.
Okay, all right. Well, this will be your first experience.
I'm back here.
For Jessie, though, a different story.
Have you worked in any other non-legalized industries?
Yeah, I have, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked for escort services and things like that.
Good luck.
Jessie is more embarrassed about her drug use than being a prostitute. She tries to give blood.
I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble getting blood out of me. I used to be a needle user.
30 minutes later, the nurse is still trying. Drugs like heroin collapse usable veins.
How long did you use?
I mean, I used to shoot up 50 times a day. Really towards the end, I was using methamphetamine. That's a big needle. But it's worth it. Working at a ranch, it's worth it.
Not getting anything here.
You won't.
But Jessie, who saw the ranch, the brothel as her big hope, her sanctuary, learns she has failed the test. She tells us she has an STD. That's all she'll say. On the other hand, Jenna, the housewife, looking for adventure, passed the test and was hired by a brothel. But after 1 week was horrified and raced away. Last we heard, she had joined the Pentecostal church.
She was an innocent, as we call it. She was innocent. She She couldn't have done it because she still associates sex with love. And that's probably another good thing about being a prostitute is if you don't like pain, you don't ever have to experience it. Of course, you'll never experience love either. And it's just I think that's why we love the money so much. We believe that money buys happiness. And it doesn't, but it does for a while.
Supply and demand, prostitutes and Johns. Who are the men walking in these doors? An ABC News survey showed that out of every 10 American men, nearly 2 have paid for sex. For single men over 30, it's nearly 1/3 who have paid. But as you're about to see, the men, the Johns, rarely pay the same legal price as the prostitute. In New York, as we know, a governor was brought down by his 8-year patronage of a high-end escort service, which ended with the 22-year-old Ashley Dupree. They met for 2 hours in a Washington, D.C. hotel. It cost more than $4,000.
You know, right now it's looking highly unlikely that Spitz is going to be charged with any solicitation component. He's a 48-year-old white male with power and privilege. If he was a 13-year-old girl from Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, he'd be arrested.
There's certainly a reluctance often to prosecute the Johns. I mean, the Johns do have a stake in the society. There is some risk if you're a policeman or if you're a prosecutor that if you start arresting Johns, that one of them will be your neighbor, your boss, whatever else. It's much simpler just to arrest the young women.
And much simpler to prove the case against the women, usually more concrete evidence. So when we asked for comparative figures about men and women, we found 85,000 prostitutes were arrested in 2005. But no one even has a national number for the men. Though their numbers are certainly in the tens of thousands, many of them scouring the internet in search of sex. A dizzying array of faces, ages, races, all as easy to obtain as a takeout dinner.
Okay, so what do you say? You get $2.50. What time do you think you can come? Look pretty for me.
But this man is not a customer. He's a Miami-Dade cop working on a task force set up to combat domestic trafficking. Less than an hour later, his date arrives at a hotel room wired with hidden cameras. The police allowed us to observe what they do.
It was love.
When the women arrive, there are a couple of phrases we hear suspiciously often.
This is the first time I've ever really done something like this.
It's their first time. And of course, they say how much they like it.
I like sex.
Or as much sex as we want,
And we also noticed that virtually all the women are letting someone know they're there.
Do you have the cash actually so I can go ahead and call these?
Whether it's a pimp or a safety backup.
Hey, Mom, I'm just checking in.
As it starts, the women talk casually about their services.
It's kind of fast money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a client that he usually asks me for 2 hours.
They agree on a price.
$2.50.
A secret signal is given. The arresting team moves in.
Metro-Dade Police, you're under arrest.
Sometimes they're not even allowed to put on their clothes after getting arrested.
Can I put my clothes?
No.
The police are worried that weapons might be concealed in the clothes. Across the country in Reno, Nevada, Sergeant Dave Evans, head of the Reno Vice Squad, is also on the prowl for prostitutes.
See how she just got in his car? He just picked her up.
And his arrests mirror the rest of the country. In Reno, 85% of those jailed are women.
We've arrested her before.
In Nevada, as we said, 30 brothels are legal and comply with strict state regulations, but street prostitution is not legal, though it flourishes because it's cheaper and readily available. The sergeant's men pose as clients and agree to let us wire their cars to listen in on negotiations.
And I have a room right around the corner. But
Awesome.
you want sex or both?
How much for both?
16.
16? I got 50. Is that cool?
That's cool as long as you have a condom.
Yeah, I got it. That sounds like a good deal.
The women know that some men will pay a lot more for sex without condoms. This woman agrees to risk her life for $30.
Do I have to use a condom?
It's up to you.
What's that?
It's up to you.
You don't mind if I don't?
Or you have.
I got 30. All right. Sounds like a good deal.
Right on.
The police arrest a woman who looked like a middle-aged department store clerk. We ask why she was working on the streets.
Actually, I got a telephone bill to pay.
I felt kind of sorry for him.
She told us it was her first time ever that she'd been so close to getting a job that would have allowed her to pay her bills.
In fact, I have a friend of mine that's going to hook me up with a job with $12 an hour, cleaning up construction leftover stuff. And I just saw him today.
She was booked for solicitation, and her sentence was staggering: 180 days in jail. Even the police questioned the fairness for all these women.
With the females, most of them don't have residence here. They're homeless, and they're bouncing from place to place. Very few of them have valid ID. They don't have jobs, so they don't qualify for citation, so they go to jail.
They do conduct stings for men. Here, a female undercover officer is setting her trap.
I had one guy going, "We're going to have to hurry really quick because I got to pick my wife up in 15 minutes.
Within minutes, she gets her first client.
What do you have time for? What are you looking at? You got that look.
The money is offered. When the client walks upstairs, he gets busted. He agrees to talk with us about why he seeks out prostitutes, but only if we conceal his identity. He says he's baffled by his own self-destructive risk.
It has nothing to do with sex. It's something else. It's something I can't explain. I wish I could, all right? It's like a hunt. It's a rush. I don't know why it is. I have no idea why it is. I hate it, but and it doesn't have anything to do with sex. I mean, like I said, I don't think I'm a really good-looking guy, but I can get laid if that's what I need to get. But it has nothing to do with that.
How do you feel afterwards?
Like I feel terrible every time. I'm always scared to death I'm gonna lose my girlfriend. I'm always scared to death my parents are gonna find out. I'm scared to death I'm gonna get arrested. Up my entire life over some stupid impulse I have.
But he can afford the $1,400 fine and an HIV test. He will walk free.
We have husbands, grandfathers. We've had people in health services. I'm embarrassed to say we've had police officers, firefighters.
Why do you think men do it?
I think that the men often feel some level of insecurity about regular relationships. This is something that is quick and easy and ends. Somebody wrote on my blog, a man who's been a customer, he said that what they're paying for is not to bring the woman into the relationship, but to have her go away afterward. And for some people, there may be an element of that. But I think that also the men overwhelmingly see this as a completely consensual financial transaction.
I don't think it's that complex because we accept it in our culture.
In some cities like Reno, the names of some of the men are listed in the paper. In a handful of cities, first-time offenders are now required to get a kind of reality check at John's schools.
Through oral sex, you can get many of these diseases.
On this night in Brooklyn, New York, over 100 men from every walk of life, sweatpants, suit jackets, Yankee hats, and yarmulkes, are lectured about the dangers and consequences of buying sex.
Half of these girls walk around with razor blades. They keep them tucked right inside their mouth.
Back in Reno, another woman is arrested. Not surprisingly, she's on drugs.
Break them one at a time.
Presumptive positive for cocaine.
She tells us she had just won custody of her children, but is certain to lose them again. Another prostitute paying a legal price and a physical one.
These prostitutes, they get so infected and sick from drug use and abusing their bodies that they get what we call open lesions on their body.
This is a photo montage of one woman's descent into hell.
Put your hands up top of the car.
A lot of them are real sharp. They're real decent-looking kids. They're, they're just normal kids.
How old are you? 29?
This is my first time.
This is your first time?
And when you're exposed to the streets, you don't have any choice. You don't have many choices, especially at that young of an age.
World Famous Bunny Ranch, how can I help you? World Famous Bunny Ranch, how can I help you? World Famous Bunny Ranch.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Is there anybody else up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Is Alana here? I haven't even had any coffee yet.
It's morning at a legal brothel in Carson City, Nevada, a desolate stretch of desert in the mountains near Lake Tahoe. It's called the Moonlight Bunny Ranch. And in 2006, we came here to see what it was like. How was it different for the women when prostitution is legal? Walk in the door, and they are ready for our cameras.
I'm Andy. Hi, I'm Baby.
Hi, I'm Sierra.
Hi, I'm Shyla.
Hi, I'm Becca Brad.
Hi, I'm Audrey.
Hi, I'm Vanity.
Hi, Melissa Kiss.
Hi, I'm Taylor Sterling.
Hi, I'm Shelley.
They smile practiced smiles, invented names, each dressed for a specialty of fantasy. One a dominatrix, another the girl next door. In effect, they have graduate marketing degrees in what customers want. When the house is full, there may be as many as 30 women in the lineup. Sometimes the men choose quickly, but more often, they head first to the bar. There's a menu, but it's not for food. It's for a specific encounter. They call them parties.
The lingerie show, Dirty Nancy, and a massage. The salt and pepper party, that's a white girl and a black girl. The Neapolitan is a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette.
The price will be negotiated. There will also be a physical and hygiene health inspection for the men.
We offer anything and everything here, anything you could possibly want.
Anything.
Anything.
Once we come into the room with the customer, I put the play sheet over the bed. I put the condoms on right away because, you know, safety reasons. We don't need to share fluids all over the place. I don't tongue kiss. This is an ecosystem in here. One little disruption can cause me a lot of problems. And unless you're going to give me your phone number so you can pay for my doctor bill to fix it, it's not going to happen.
Under state law, the girls are tested for sexually transmitted diseases every week and for AIDS specifically every month. And the health department says legalization does pay off. In the more than 30 years they've been keeping track of the legal brothels, they've had not one case of HIV. As we said, there are 30 legal brothels. 800 girls a year pass through. Security cameras are everywhere. In the cashier's office, live feed monitors as a way to check up on the women, but also keep them safe. Yet back in the parlor, we noticed the clients sometimes seem more nervous than the girls.
Oh, you think that we'd have the power, but no. I mean, it's like, uh-oh. You know, we're nervous. You don't know what to say. You don't want to say the wrong thing, because they get to choose too.
Later, one girl at the ranch tells us that even though she's been here 5 months,
I still get scared sometimes, even after 5 months to go stand in the lineup. Some days I feel a little bit shaky and I think, oh my gosh, what if he picks me? And since I've been here, I found that just having a couple of drinks relaxes me and lets me not be quite as shaky.
watching over the rituals, the owner of the brothel, Dennis Hoff, is constantly coaching his sales force.
You want to be as close to the client as possible. Okay? So if you stand in the middle of the room, right in front of the client, and it's always that big smile. From the time you walk in, smile means this. Okay? When you don't smile, it means this. Stop.
He takes half of the money each girl brings in. The women also pay $20 a day for the rooms where they work and live, unless they take in $1,000 a day, which earns them free rent. They pay, too, for food.
I want to try this on.
And there's a kind of rolling brothel boutique of clothes where the women buy their own outfits for their brothel identities.
What it does to my leg? I mean, just it adds something to it. It's just like it's like
length.
adding salad dressing to a salad.
When we start asking about their lives before the brothel, they insist that they started just as American as apple pie.
I'm from a town of 76 in Oklahoma.
The county was only 3,000 people.
Got married at 17.
5 churches in this town.
Had 2 children.
I was very sheltered and naive.
My dad's a rabbi of our synagogue.
I want to be fully out of debt, all of my vehicles paid off.
A year or two from now, I'd love to say that I'd be in law school.
I've always wanted to be a nurse.
And my goal is to be happy and to make a life for me and my daughter.
A singer. I was going to be a singer, and I still think that.
And they say what they really want is the money.
You will always look at a man and think, oh, I wonder if he's a trick. I wonder how much I could make.
It's the money. You know, the money's so good.
Becca, who came here at age 19, says she's the daughter of a minister from rural Louisiana.
I grew up so religious, and, I was still, I was a baby when I got here.
And Christina, just 21, is new to the trade, a lost child of the foster care system.
I was in foster homes for 11 years and 37 different ones. That's my family life.
She told us she's here because it's her last shot at making enough money to go to school and become a registered nurse, an RN.
He told me that, I could make a good living out here and that I'd be happy, I'd never go without a roof over my head. I'd never go hungry. I'd never go without money, I feel like this is like my last resort. This is what I have to do right now. I want to be an RN. And now that I found, this and a way to make the money for me to go to college, to do what I've always wanted to do, I'm going to do it.
A hardened pro, the woman who calls herself Baby, says she has a nursing degree in Michigan.
You don't miss nursing? You don't miss the life that you...
No, because I can work nursing and nurse for, it's crazy, 12, 13 hours. And here I can work 4, 5, 6 hours if I wanted to and make as much money in one day than I can in 2 weeks nursing.
She says her career goal is to buy houses, become a real estate mogul, and that she's supporting 4 children.
When they're old enough to ask you what you do, what are you going to say?
I'll be honest with them. I have 2 girls and 2 boys, and they're 9, 10, 12, and 14, so I have 2 teenagers. If they want to know, I'll tell them, hey, I did everything for them.
In the next hour, you'll see as we try to learn more about the truth inside this place. Are there drugs here? What about denial? And what is the story of the top booker at the brothel?
Max is my little firecracker.
But for now, they leave us with their advertising motto.
If you love your man and you want to keep him, don't deny him anything sexual.
Because if you don't do it, someone else always will.
Here's just one story. Last year, we are told, an average pimp in New Jersey was convicted, and the case revealed that with just 8 prostitutes in his service, he was taking in nearly $2 million a year. We don't know how many are like him around the country, but we know there is a vast quantity of money being earned by prostitutes and passed on to pimps and traffickers. We're told by experts that more than 90% of the girls on the street are connected to a pimp. So we set out to learn more about the complex relationship of fear and dependence that keeps women earning money for these bosses by selling sex. And as we know, recently the idea of pimp as folk hero has become a kind of entertainment.
The Oscar goes to... It's hard out here for a pimp. Oh my God!
That historic, if dubious moment at the Oscars 2 years ago, when the Oscar-winning song was a tribute to the life of a pimp.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp. He's trying to get his money for the rent.
In fact, in a lot of American culture, the pimp is the hippest guy on the planet.
Get a good look at a pimp.
In fact, real pimps now readily congratulate themselves in public on how they treat women. Watch these women who are told to keep their eyes and heads toward the ground as they walk. The footage is from a documentary by filmmaker Michael Mulroy.
It makes other guys say, oh man, I'm so impressed that this dude could have 3 chicks, look down at the floor and follow him around all night. I mean, the average guy can't even get his wife to go make a sandwich for him when he gets off work.
And before you think it's only the most abused or damaged girls who could be lured in, remember Danielle, who had emotional trouble, but was a middle-class college student. Her pimp started out, as they often do, acting as her boyfriend, best pal.
It's like a cult where they brainwash you. In the beginning, it's as if they're training you like a dog.
Was he dangerous?
Oh, yes. He was very dangerous.
Abusive?
Very. I was very, very scared. I was scared for my life from the side of my pimp, and I was scared for my life from the side of the Johns.
She says she obeyed the rules.
Basically, the rules were you can't talk to another girl from another pimp. If a pimp came to yell at you, you weren't allowed to look at them. You had to look down and walk away right away.
And of course, the big one, the money comes first.
Always get the money up front, because I did make that mistake one time and then I didn't get the money, and I got a very extremely violent beating for that.
How much of the money would he take?
All of it. All the money. He had everything.
So you weren't making money, you weren't?
No. When I wanted something, I got it. If I wanted a car, I got it. If I wanted a fur coat, I got it. If I wanted to go shopping, I got it.
You couldn't grasp that you were a thing of value, or that sex was a thing of value?
You know, I did grasp that, but it was like glamorous. People want me. Look how much money they're willing to give me for an hour of time. You know, I felt wanted. I felt needed. I almost felt loved.
And if Danielle was vulnerable to a pimp, what chance was there for Caramel at age 14? Up against the pimp named Ace Love. He's now in jail.
I thought I was so in love. You know, you got somebody there to take care of you, take care of your money.
What's up?
Ouch! Her pimp sent her out to work 7 days a week, beat her, and took all her money.
That's all of it?
Remember the statistics, 60 to 90% of the girls on the street have been sexually abused, and Caramel was horribly molested as a child.
Andrea Dworkin once said that incest is boot camp for prostitution. Sexual abuse changes how you feel about yourself, about others. It breaks down, you know, your boundaries become very blurred, so you begin to view yourself as kind of inherently flawed, inherently sexual. And that's not to say, right, everybody who's been sexually abused is going to wind up in the sex industry, but I mean, this adult man who comes onto them and promises them the world, that can be very intoxicating.
That's Caramel with 4 other girls, and together they brought in an average of more than $10,000 a week for him. It's Las Vegas, New Year's Eve. They're laughing like any friends until, watch their faces, he tells them it's time to go to work.
If anybody don't act right or do right, I will.
They respond, they say, feeling everything from terror to love.
We can make the parallels with domestic violence. We don't expect all women who are in a domestic violence situation to be chained to a bed somewhere with a gun to their head.
Danielle says, in the end, there may have been one thing she did not do that saved her. Did you do drugs?
No, I was very fortunate. Very, very fortunate.
It's another way pimps retain full control.
We began to get more girls with us. A lot of them were addicted to drugs. And that was the way he kept them. They would...
The way he kept them? He supplied
yes.
it?
Oh, yes.
What
definitely.
kind? What kind of drugs?
Heroin, cocaine, mostly. Heroin and cocaine.
As we said, it's hard to document how many pimps are ever arrested. We found a figure that showed less than 100 were brought to trial in federal courts last year. And that's the most ever, by double. Pimps have a kind of built-in legal protection. The fear from the girls.
The problem is that to prove force, fraud, and coercion, you pretty much have to get this young woman to testify against her pimp.
And against her safety.
And against her safety. Her life will be in jeopardy, that of her family will be in jeopardy. And also, there really is often an emotional bond in a very weird way between her and that pimp.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you,
As we said before, we've spent 2 years working on tonight's report. So before we take a break, we thought we'd bring you up to date on some of the people you met in this hour. Let's begin with Danielle, the middle-class college girl who broke free of prostitution after 2 years with a pimp. She says it was her mother who helped by taking her away.
And I thought to myself, what am I doing? This is not what I want. This is not me.
She urges parents to keep trying with their daughters. She's now married with a child and working with the Coalition Against Trafficking in Women. And what about Caramel, who was so beaten and broken by her pimp? She was freed after a police raid in which he was arrested. Her mother also returned to her life, and today she too is married, in college, and says she wants to be a lawyer.
Hi, baby. What's up?
And Jessie, who started our hour, eventually got a clean bill of health and off drugs and made it into a legal brothel. But she lasted only a few months, saying the money was not what she expected. She's back working on her own, and she wrote us an email 2 days ago, which ended, "I hate it. I want to quit so bad, it's killing me inside."
I don't see faces, and I only see cars, and I only think of money. When people ride by, they call you names, you know, and you walk with your head down and you think everybody knows. You're just so ashamed of yourself.
And before we take our break, there's one other couple we met. On the street, they call them Ken and Barbie. She was raised by her grandparents.
I was a spoiled little girl. I was just so happy, and I don't know where things went wrong, because like I said, I was like a little princess.
She says it was a craving for cocaine that set her down a different path.
I started with the escort, you know, where you were making really good money. It's a little more glamorous, you know, you wear dresses, sundresses, stuff like that. My favorite one.
Their real names are Kim and Brian. They have been married for 9 years, and she supports both their habits by selling her body.
The hard thing for me. Getting older, looking at yourself. When people ride by, they call you names.
She says it is devastating, the humiliation by her customers, and for what she can charge.
To me, it's $20. You can't buy a pack of cigarettes and get a piece of pizza with $20 nowadays. It just makes me so angry, and you know these guys have it. They've got really nice cars, and they got all this money in their wallet.
She meets with her drug counselor, struggles to break free of addiction. She is 44, almost 10 years older than Brian. Their life is wearing her down.
It's just a lot easier for women to get money than men. Men, they have to do, like you said, robbery, stuff like that to get their money. And they wind up in jail. Girls have to, but see, girls, we lose our spirit, our souls.
Yes.
You know, we're just a shell.
Yes.
You know, it's a bigger price than going to jail. I think.
Yes, dear.
We just lose everything.
It cost Brian $8 to get his fix. He says he knows he needs Kim, but she'd be better off without him.
She wouldn't be using the cocaine at all if I wasn't around.
I mean, I'm doing this because I love him and I want him to get better. And I'm an addict too. I mean, I'm just not doing it for him. I'm an addict too. And that would be the worst if we got divorced after all this. Yeah, so.
And they tell us they have just enough hope left to dream about a life like the one you have.
Wow. We'd be at a home down the shore. Our backyard would be the ocean. We'd both be clean. I just want us to have a normal life.
But in the years since we've seen them, we heard that there was a fight. He punched out some of her front teeth. Then the two disappeared. We still keep thinking of one of the last things she said.
There's just this little spirit inside me that just tells me that everything's gonna be all right.
Tonight, the women are working in staggering numbers, tens and tens of thousands of them.